Welcome to Mindful Moments. Nourish your mind on the go. This video uses AI narration to present our original book analysis. We're diving deep into Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief today.
Oh, I love this book.
Yeah, it's so fun. And so many people, have seen the movies, but reading the book is a whole other experience.
Absolutely. The book just has so much more depth, so much more detail.
Right, like it really pulls you into this world. And it starts off seeming like a pretty simple story about this, troubled kid.
Yeah, Percy Jackson, he's 12 years old.
Attends Yancey Academy.
Yeah.
And it's, basically a school for kids who have some struggles.
Troubled kids, as they call them.
Exactly. And, he's got dyslexia, he's got ADHD.
And he's been kicked out of, 6 schools in 6 years.
Yeah, he can't seem to stay anywhere for too long.
And then there's his mom's boyfriend, Gabe.
Oh, Gabe.
He's the worst.
He's awful. But, amidst all this, you start to get this feeling that maybe Percy isn't just a troubled kid,
There's something different about him.
Yeah. And one of the first hints is his Latin teacher, Mr. Brunner.
He seems really oddly invested in Percy.
Right. Like he sees something in him, something special.
Almost like he knows something we don't,
Exactly. And then things go from weird to insane on a field trip.
To the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Yeah, and Percy's pre-algebra teacher, Mrs. Dodds, suddenly turns into this monster.
A horrifying creature.
And tries to kill him.
Talk about a bad day.
Right. And this is where the mythological world really crashes into Percy's reality for the first time.
It's like that moment when everything changes for him.
Yeah, and you start to question his sanity along with him.
Right, because after this attack, Mrs. Dodds just vanishes. Poof.
Gone. And everyone's acting like she never even existed.
And then there's Mr. Brunner.
Yeah, he does something very unexpected.
He throws Percy a pen.
Which magically turns into a sword.
Riptide.
It's like, whoa! What just happened?
That sword is so important.
It really is. It's like a symbol of his connection to, this hidden world.
His true potential starting to emerge.
Yeah. And then we have this terrifying encounter with the Minotaur.
Half man, half bull.
Yeah. So Percy, with his mom and his best friend, Grover, they barely escape.
And speaking of Grover...
Oh, yeah. Big reveal, right?
Jaeger.
Yeah. A half goat, half human being from Greek mythology.
You think you know your best friend.
Right. And I love how Riordan, the author, brings these creatures into the story,
Yeah, it's like he blends the real world with the fantastical so seamlessly.
Totally. And they all end up at this amazing place, Camp Half-Blood.
A safe haven for demigods.
Children of Greek gods. And it's imagine summer camp, but a million times cooler.
Way cooler.
Right. There are cabins for each god, training with swords, archery.
And, mythical creatures just wandering around.
Well, it's normal to see a centaur walking by.
Totally normal.
It's amazing.
Camp Half-Blood, I think, is more than just a camp. It's like a symbol of belonging,
Oh, absolutely. Percy finally finds a place where he fits in.
Exactly. He meets Chiron.
Who's a centaur.
The trainer at the camp.
Yeah, and Annabeth.
Daughter of Athena.
And she becomes this, close ally to Percy.
They make a great team.
And then the truth comes out. The big reveal.
The bombshell.
Percy is the son of Poseidon.
The god of the sea.
The sea god. And that explains so much, right?
It does. His powers, his connection to water, everything starts to make sense.
But this news, it throws the whole camp into chaos.
Because Zeus, the king of the gods, he's furious.
Ah.
He thinks Poseidon stole his lightning bolt.
His master lightning bolt.
Mm-hmm.
And naturally, everyone suspects Percy.
I mean, it's understandable, right? Poseidon's the god of the sea. Percy's his son. Everyone's kind of jumping to conclusions.
But finding the lightning bolt isn't the end of the story.
No, not at all. In fact, it just makes things even more complicated.
Right, now the question isn't just who stole it. It's why set Percy up.
Exactly.
And that answer, it's a real shocker. It turns out it was Luke.
Percy's friend from Camp Half-Blood?
The one he trusted.
Son of Hermes, the messenger god.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting here is that Luke isn't just some, random bad guy.
Oh, he's got his reasons.
Yeah.
And they're tied to his own complicated relationship with his dad.
Hermes.
Right, he feels abandoned, overlooked, like his dad doesn't really care about him.
Because he's a powerful god, off doing god things.
And Luke's resentment, it kind of festers and grows.
But it's not just about a stolen lightning bolt, is it?
It's about deeper issues. Family, loyalty, what it means to be a child of a god, dealing with those expectations and pressures.
And this whole conflict between Percy and Luke, it becomes this microcosm of this bigger war that's brewing.
Between the gods and the Titans.
The ancient enemies of the Olympians.
This primal struggle for power.
Right. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Percy's showdown with Ares.
Oh, the god of war.
Yeah, on the beach of Santa Monica.
Talk about an epic battle.
It's intense. We see Percy, really using his powers, controlling the water, creating these massive waves.
He's not just a demigod. He's like a force of nature.
And it's this huge turning point for him, too. I think he finally realizes how strong he can be.
Yeah, he's not just surviving anymore. He's fighting back.
And he defeats Ares.
But even after this victory, there's this chilling realization.
Yeah.
Ares was just a pawn. Someone else was pulling the strings, someone even more powerful.
And that someone is
Kronos.
the Titan King.
Yeah.
The ultimate bad guy.
And Percy knows he has to warn the gods.
And clear his name with Zeus.
So off he goes to Mount Olympus.
Which, can you imagine being 12 years old and having to stand before the most powerful beings in the universe?
It takes a lot of courage.
It does. He doesn't back down, though. He pleads his case, and he exposes Luke's betrayal.
And reveals the truth about the lightning bolt.
And that whole quest to the underworld, all those challenges, it was all orchestrated by Kronos.
It's mind-blowing. It makes you think about fate and free will,
Right. Was Percy just a pawn in this cosmic game?
Or does he have the power to choose his own path?
It's a lot for a young demigod to grapple with.
It is. But amidst all this, Percy doesn't forget about his mom.
Who's still back in the mortal world with Gade.
That's what I love about Percy.
Me too.
He's fighting to save the world, but he's also deeply loyal to his family and the people he loves.
And that's what makes him such a relatable hero.
Absolutely. So he heads back to the mortal world.
Helps his mom escape Gade.
And gets a special gift from his dad, Poseidon.
It's like a symbol of his connection to the sea, his father's love.
A little reminder that he's not alone in this fight.
But Percy knows he can't stay in the normal world.
His journey's just beginning.
Yeah, he returns to Camp Half-Blood, ready to train, to face whatever comes next.
To embrace his destiny as a hero.
And his bravery is celebrated at a camp. They have this special bead ceremony.
A beautiful tradition.
Honoring his achievements. It's a moment of, community belonging.
Yeah, even in the midst of all this danger and uncertainty, there's still joy and connection.
It's a bittersweet moment, though, isn't it? Summer's ending, campers are going home, and Percy's facing an uncertain future.
And then, just as everyone's saying goodbye,
it happens.
The ultimate betrayal.
Luke appears.
No longer pretending to be a friend.
His allegiance to Kronos is out in the open.
And he attacks Percy.
It's brutal. It shatters the peace of the ceremony.
And leaves us on this massive cliffhanger.
Will Percy survive?
What will happen to Camp Half-Blood?
To the gods.
The heart-stopping ending.
Man, that ending, it leaves you wanting more.
Oh, for sure. You're like, what happens next?
Right, I gotta know. But even beyond the cliffhanger, The Lightning Thief, it's such a great story. It's so much more than just an adventure,
It really is. It makes you think about all these big questions, like who am I? Where do I belong? What's my purpose?
Yeah, totally. And those themes of identity, family, they really resonate, especially with young readers, I think.
Oh, absolutely. But even as an adult, I find myself coming back to those themes, questioning, exploring.
Right. And what I find so fascinating is how Riordan takes these ancient Greek myths, these stories that have been around for centuries, and he makes them feel so fresh, so relevant.
He does. He blends the fantastical with the familiar in such a clever way. You have Mount Olympus above the Empire State Building. It's brilliant.
And he tackles these complex themes, but he does it in a way that's accessible, that doesn't feel preachy or oversimplified.
Yeah. Like Percy's dyslexia and ADHD, for example. They're never presented as weaknesses.
Right. They're part of who he is, and in a way, they become his strengths.
Exactly. It's like this subtle message about embracing your individuality,
Totally. And finding your place in the world. Percy's journey to Camp Half-Blood, that's such a powerful metaphor, right?
It is. It's about finding a community where you feel accepted, where you can be yourself, where you don't have to hide who you are.
Exactly. And the importance of family, too. Both the family you're born into and the family you choose.
Yeah, like Percy's relationship with his mom, it's so heartwarming, so real. Even though she's not a demigod, she's such a strong character.
She is. And his friends, Annabeth and Grover, they become like family to him, too. And then there's Poseidon, his godly father. That relationship is complex, for sure. But you see that there's love there.
And a sense of responsibility, even if it takes Poseidon a while to really step up.
Right. but he gets there. And I have to say, I love Riordan's humor. Even in the midst of these epic battles and serious moments, he always finds a way to make you laugh.
Oh, the dialogue is so witty, so sharp. It keeps things light, even when the stakes are high.
And the pacing is perfect. Like you're constantly turning the page, wondering what's going to happen next.
It's a real page turner. You start reading, and you can't put it down.
And honestly, we've only scratched the surface here. There's so much more to discover in The Lightning Thief.
So much depth, so many details, so many layers to uncover.
You really need to experience it for yourself. Read the book. Dive into this amazing world of Greek mythology and adventure.
And let your imagination run wild.
That's what it's all about. And hey, while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out the link below to purchase the book. You won't regret it.
What are you waiting for? Jump into the world of Percy Jackson.
See you in our next deep dive.